My name was Ahmed. I was a respected Muslim judge in Pakistan, cloaked in the solemnity of the law and the weight of tradition. The courts I presided over were steeped in ritual, my every word echoing through the stone halls, a fortress of faith built upon centuries of conviction. Yet beneath my disciplined exterior, I grappled with a growing emptiness, a gnawing feeling that my devotion was merely an act. I performed my prayers steadfastly, but inside, I was drowning in shadows, questioning the very essence of what I believed. Then came the day that shattered my reality, a catastrophic accident that left my body lifeless and my spirit adrift in a realm beyond comprehension. In that dark void, I encountered a figure radiating pure light, a being I had only known from pages of a book. Jesus called me by name. He pierced through my despair, revealing the truth behind the veils of my existence. What I thought was allegiance to God was, in fact, blind adherence to a system that silenced my spirit. Waking from the coma, I rediscovered a world filled with hostility. My family turned their backs, my friends became strangers, and whispers of heretic followed me like a haunting echo. The guilt gnawed at my soul. The truth I had been gifted became a prison as fear engulfed me. Yet as I faced rejection from all I had known, I felt a pull toward a truth I never imagined, a divine purpose that called me to break away from everything, to confront the very chains that bound us. In secret, I sought to understand this new journey, unraveling the threads of faith through testimonies of other lost souls who had found liberation. Alongside them, I began to pray to Him, experiencing quiet moments of peace that eluded me in the past. Each new revelation, each act of defiance against my former existence, kindled a fire within me that could not be extinguished. This path is more than just my story. It represents a movement awakening in the hearts of many who yearn for truth in a world shrouded in darkness. I realized I must share what I had witnessed beyond the veil, a call to arms for those still ensnared in deception. So today, I invite you to join me on this perilous journey toward understanding. Leave a comment below. Where are you watching from? And what time does it strike where your heart beats? And if you sense the whisper of a deeper truth resonating within, subscribe to Truth from Beyond. Together, we will unravel the mysteries that bind us, revealing the life-transforming connection waiting on the other side. In the conservative city where I lived in Pakistan, an atmosphere of strict Islamic traditions permeated every corner of existence. My name is Ibrahim, and I served as a judge, a position that carried with it immense responsibility and weight. I upheld the law with reverence, often feeling the pressures of compliance and conformity surround me like a thick fog. Questioning the status quo was almost unheard of. Those who dared to stray from the rigid lines set by society were often met with disdain or worse. Yet, beneath the surface, I wrestled with an internal struggle that grew more intense with each passing day. The turning point came unexpectedly. I was involved in an accident that left me critically injured, leading to a moment of near-death experience. As I lay in the darkness between life and death, I felt my spirit being pulled into a light that was both terrifying and beautiful. That's when I encountered Jesus. His presence encompassed me, radiating love and understanding that transcended all I had known. In that moment, I was flooded with revelations about the hidden agendas that manipulated the lives of people like me. I began to see how faith had been weaponized, used by the elite to instill fear and compliance, rather than foster true spiritual connection. In those seconds suspended in eternity, Jesus shared profound truths with me, truths about the spiritual war we were all embroiled in, whether we acknowledged it or not. I witnessed the deceptive narratives employed to control and suppress individuals, to create division among us. This revelation shattered my understanding of faith, politics, and society as I had known them. I saw the vast expanse of suffering inflicted upon innocent people, manipulated by an unseen hand that sought to maintain power and influence. Each image was a reminder that the stakes were high, that the light of truth needed to pierce through the darkness. When I eventually awoke in the hospital, I was not just recovering from physical injuries. I was reborn, transformed by the revelation I had experienced. The weight of my responsibilities as a judge now felt profoundly burdensome. I realized I could no longer align myself with a system that perpetuated this deception. My entire life had been built on principles I now understood to be flawed. The fears that had governed my decisions, the expectations of my community, none of it resonated with the truth I had encountered with Jesus. As I began to process the implications of my experience, I felt an urgent call to action. With each passing day, I could feel the quiet stirrings of a mission within me. I understood that my journey was not just for personal awakening. It was a clarion call to others, suffering under the weight of societal and spiritual oppression. There was an overwhelming sense of responsibility to share the truth I had uncovered, to guide others out of the darkness and into the light. Yet I was painfully aware of the risks involved. Breaking away from the chains of tradition meant risking everything I had ever known. Would my family understand? Would my community accept me? The urgency to speak out against the deception was palpable, and as I began to gather my thoughts and intentions, I knew that a new battle lay ahead, one that demanded both courage and unwavering faith in the truth I was compelled to proclaim. I've spent my life as a respected Muslim judge in Pakistan, a role that came with immense responsibility and a certain prestige in my community. My name is Ahmed, and though I wore the title with honor, an unsettling emptiness began to gnaw at my spirit. As I devoted my days to enforcing the law, I struggled with the realization that my faith had transformed into a mere obligation rather than a source of meaningful connection. Every prayer felt mechanical, and every sermon I delivered was void of the passion that had once fueled my devotion. Instead, I found myself suppressing deeper emotions, trying to uphold an image of unwavering strength amidst my growing uncertainty. This internal conflict reached a boiling point after a tragic event that left me reeling. I was en route to a judicial meeting when an unexpected accident plunged me into the very depths of darkness. The impact was violent, and in that moment I felt my spirit detach from my body, suspended in a void where time ceased to exist. The silence was deafening, a stillness that invited introspection. In the depths of that desolation, I was enveloped by an overwhelming warmth, the light of Jesus. His presence enveloped me like an embrace, radiating comfort and unconditional love. I felt as if I were finally seen beyond the facade I had worn for so long. During this divine encounter, Jesus began to unveil profound revelations about the hidden agendas that shaped our world. I was shown the mechanisms of manipulation wielded by the elite, a deception designed to perpetuate fear and division in society. The truth was staggering. I saw how political discourse fueled societal unrest, and religious leaders sometimes unknowingly advanced these agendas, reinforcing the structures that kept people compliant and afraid. The awakening that was taking place within me sparked both anger and a deep sense of urgency. The truths I encountered were no longer theoretical. They were visceral, igniting a fire in my heart that demanded action. As I emerged from that near-death experience, I awoke not just with physical injuries but with a new vision for my life. I realized that the emptiness I had felt was a direct consequence of my disconnection from what truly mattered. I could no longer remain in a system that silenced my voice and suppressed the truth. The revelations I had received from Jesus beckoned me to walk a different path, to confront the deception head-on and share what I had learned. But this path was fraught with danger. Leaving behind everything I had ever known meant possibly losing my family, my position, and my standing in the community. Yet with each passing day, the urgency to share this awakening intensified. I began to reach out quietly, searching for like-minded individuals who had experienced similar revelations. Each conversation reinforced my sense of purpose, exposing the wounds we all carried from the deception imposed upon us. Here was a spiritual war unfolding not just within me, but among those yearning for authenticity and connection. Come what may, I felt compelled to gather these souls and stand against the hidden agendas that sought to divide us. It was clear to me that the battle for truth was much larger than I had realized, one that had the potential to inspire countless others seeking their own awakening in the midst of chaos. As I continued with my daily prayers, a growing sense of disconnection wrapped around my heart like an iron shroud. My name is Ahmed, and as a Muslim judge in Pakistan, I was expected to uphold the teachings of the Quran with unwavering devotion. Yet, week after week, I found myself withdrawing further from the very texts that had once brought me comfort. The familiar verses began to sound hollow, echoing in the quiet of my mind without that spark of connection I had always cherished. Each recitation felt like I was going through the motions, trapped in a cycle of expectation and tradition, while deep within, the turmoil festered. Dark visions began to invade my dreams, hinting at an impending spiritual crisis that I could no longer ignore. I often awoke in a cold sweat, my heart racing as images of chaos and division flashed before my eyes. In these dreams, I saw the faces of people I loved, caught in a web of fear and manipulation, a spiritual war raging silently around us, unseen yet all too real. As a judge, I had been trained to uphold justice, but I now grappled with the realization that the systems surrounding us fostered deception, perpetuating an agenda crafted by unseen elites who manipulated belief for power. With every dawn, I became increasingly aware of the tension within me. It was as if I was standing at the edge of a precipice, peering into an abyss filled with uncertainty. I longed for clarity, yet every attempt to grasp it sent me spiraling deeper into doubt. The teachings of my faith had provided moral guidelines, yet they seemed, paradoxically, to bind me tighter each day. My heart ached to know the truth amidst the deception, and I yearned for a connection that felt genuine, one that would resonate with the essence of my spirit, not simply fulfill societal obligations. In those moments of desperation, I began to quietly interrogate the beliefs I had held dear. Was there more beyond the lines I had been taught to recite? Each night as I sank into bed, I felt a pull towards something greater, a force urging me to seek answers beyond the confines of my conditioned understanding. And then, the moment came when I least expected it. In the stillness of my room, I felt a presence beside me, and it was Jesus. His embrace filled the space with warmth and love, illuminating the shadows of doubt that had clouded my heart. For the first time, I felt truly seen, not as a judge or a man bound by expectations, but as a seeker yearning for truth. During that encounter, Jesus revealed to me the hidden agendas at play, the manipulation distorting faith and feeding the divisions among us. It was a revelation that resonated deep within me, shaking the very foundation of my beliefs. The realization that the spiritual war extended beyond personal faith into the very fabric of society ignited a fire in my soul. He showed me visions of hope and unity intertwined, challenging me to share this new understanding with others. As I emerged from this experience, I felt the weight of my awakening pressing upon me, urgent and undeniable. I knew I could no longer hide behind my title or my fears. The call to action stirred within me, urging me to embrace this truth and share it, a mission born from conflict, yet steeped in the promise of healing and liberation. Following a severe car accident, my world shifted in ways I could never have imagined. My name is Ahmed, and I was living a life defined by duty and expectation as a judge in Pakistan. The day of the accident started like any other, but in a split second, everything changed. I remember the sound of screeching tires, a moment of weightlessness, and then darkness enveloped me. I awoke not in a hospital bed, but in a dark realm, suspended between life and death, lingering in a space that felt both foreign and familiar. It was here that I began to experience a profound near-death moment. In that dark expanse, I felt a presence calling out to me. The voice, soft yet commanding, broke through the layers of confusion and fear. It was Jesus. His figure emerged from the shadows, illuminating the darkness surrounding me with a radiant light that felt like home. The warmth of his presence enveloped me, casting out the despair I had carried for so long. In that moment, all the doubts and questions that had plagued my heart found their voice. I was struck by the realization that I was in the midst of a spiritual war, one that I had never recognized until that very moment. Jesus began to speak, revealing the hidden truths that had eluded my understanding. He showed me the intricate web of deception spun by the elite, a manipulation deeply rooted in the very fabric of our society. I witnessed scenes of division, leaders pitting communities against one another, feeding fear and mistrust to maintain control. It was a staggering revelation, exposing the hidden agenda operating behind the guise of faith, a distortion of the teachings I once held sacred. The realization that my adherence to these beliefs had kept me blind to the truth felt like a dagger to my heart. As I listened to his words, I could feel the weight of the spiritual battle intensifying. Jesus illuminated the consequences of this deception, not just for my life, but for humanity as a whole. He revealed how the ongoing conflicts and divisions around the world were interwoven with this manipulation, showing me the suffering of countless souls trapped in the chaos. In that moment, I was filled with a profound urgency to awaken, to rise above the limitations imposed by fear and tradition. The truth surged within me, igniting a fire that demanded to be shared, a call to arms in the battle for liberation and understanding. As I returned to my physical body, the experience left me irrevocably changed. The visions of truth and the call of Jesus resonated deep within my soul. I awoke in the hospital, not merely recovering from physical injuries, but also emerging from the shadows of deception. The clarity I gained ignited a mission within me, a duty to confront the spiritual war that raged not only within my heart but also in the world around me. I understood now that my journey was not simply about personal salvation. It was a clarion call to action, an awakening to the truth that demanded I share it with others, no matter the cost. Upon waking from my coma, I was met with a harsh reality that felt more like a nightmare than the awakening I had anticipated. My name is Ahmed, and as I opened my eyes, I quickly realized that everything had changed. The once familiar faces of my family now cast shadowy looks of disdain. Their voices, once warm and comforting, now dripped with bitterness. I had embraced a new faith, a journey initiated by my encounter with Jesus, and in doing so, I had earned the label of heretic. I felt as though I was being stripped of my identity, and a wave of guilt crashed over me like a tidal wave. I was torn between the profound revelations I had experienced and the fear of losing everything I had known. The emotional turmoil twisted inside me, leaving me battling a barrage of conflicting feelings. On one hand, I was invigorated by the truth I had uncovered. The notion that the spiritual war was real, fought daily through deception and manipulation by the elite. Each revelation I received from Jesus illuminated the depths of the hidden agendas that sought to control the hearts of millions. I felt compelled to share this truth, yet on the other hand, I was terrified of the repercussions of my choices. The thought of my family rejecting me, feeding into the fear of loneliness and abandonment, made my heart ache. I sat alone in my room, grappling with the paralyzing weight of my guilt and confusion. Every prayer I attempted felt tainted by the shadows of doubt that had begun to seep into my spirit. I longed to reach out to my family, to bridge the gap formed by my newfound beliefs. But the fear of their wrath held me prisoner in my own home. I was forced to confront the stark reality. The very life I had dedicated myself to no longer felt like home. It was as if I had become a stranger in my own body, struggling to find my place in a world that suddenly seemed chaotic and filled with deception. My heart ached to reconnect with those I loved, yet I feared they could never understand the choice I had made. As days turned into weeks, I began to notice a shift within myself. I was continually reminded of the urgency of the spiritual war that raged not only outside but also deep within. I could feel the call to step into the light, to become a voice for the truth, growing louder every day. I met others who had walked similar paths, individuals who had faced ostracism and pain yet emerged on the other side, emboldened by their experiences. Each encounter reinforced my resolve to advocate for those still trapped in fear and manipulation. It turned out that I was not alone in my awakening. There were many like me searching for freedom from the binds of deception. As I embraced my role in this unfolding journey, I no longer wanted to live in the shadows of guilt and confusion. I wanted to speak out. I needed to share the truth I had been given. The revelations of Jesus propelled me forward, igniting a fire in my heart that demanded action. Yet lurking in the background was the fear that continued to grip me. What if my family never accepted me back? What if the cost of my awakening was a life spent in solitude? Despite these fears, I felt a newfound strength rise within me, urging me to confront the darkness with light, convinced that this path would not only lead to personal salvation but also to the liberation of others still lost in their spiritual battles. In secret, I began to explore the pages of the Bible, feeling both excitement and fear as I delved into a world I had been taught to avoid. My name is Ahmed, and as a judge in Pakistan, my life had revolved around the rigid doctrines of Islam. Yet after my encounter with Jesus and the pain of ostracism, I found myself at a crossroads. Each verse I read resonated within me, awakening feelings and thoughts I had suppressed for too long. I stumbled upon stories of ex-Muslims, individuals who, like me, had felt the pull of truth and the weight of fear tied to their former faith. Their testimonies filled my heart with hope. Their struggles mirrored mine, and it was clear that I was not alone. As I quietly navigated this new spiritual landscape, I discovered a small Christian community that welcomed me with open arms. They too had faced rejection and hostility. Sitting among them, I felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. Although we gathered in secret, the atmosphere was charged with love and understanding, a stark contrast to the emptiness I had felt for so long. I witnessed the power of shared faith, how the Spirit of Jesus transformed us from mere individuals into a collective force against the spiritual war we all faced. In their presence, I realized that what I had been seeking was not just personal salvation, but also community and connection. Gradually, a sense of peace began to envelop me as I started to pray to Jesus. Quietly and with deep sincerity, each prayer felt like a step away from my past, a move towards a new identity built on the truth I was discovering. With every whispered word, I shed layers of guilt and doubt, embracing the promise of redemption. It was during one of these clandestine gatherings that I experienced a spiritual rebirth. The moment I was baptized in secret, surrounded by kindred spirits, I felt as though I had been washed clean. The burdens of my past slipped away, replaced by a fierce determination to pursue truth. Jesus had opened my eyes to the hidden agendas that manipulated our faiths and communities, revealing the deception that kept us all in chains. The urgency of sharing this truth surged within me. I began to realize that the spiritual war one had been unknowingly fighting wasn't just about personal awakening. It was a call to arms. I felt the weight of responsibility to advocate for others still trapped in the cycle of fear and conformity. Each baptism I participated in deepened my conviction, and I saw the light returning to the eyes of those who had once given up hope. Together, we were kindling a flame that had the potential to ignite entire communities. With this new purpose coursing through my veins, I started to share my journey, invoking the courage I had found in Jesus' love. Each testimony we exchanged became a beacon of hope, drawing in others who longed for liberation from the hidden agenda that sought to suppress them. I could feel the tide turning. The awakening was gaining momentum. I was no longer just one man grappling with his identity. I represented a movement striving to dismantle the chains of spiritual deception. But I knew that the battle wasn't over, and the stakes were high. My heart raced with anticipation as I prepared to confront the challenges ahead, fully aware of the risks involved, but equally committed to the truth that had set me free. The journey was just beginning, and the road ahead would demand everything I had to give. I realized that my revelation was not solely for my own awakening. but a divine calling to share the hidden truth with others. My name is Ahmed, and as I stood at the crossroads of my faith and my newfound understanding, I felt an immense weight upon my shoulders. The experiences I encountered during my near-death moment had illuminated a path I never thought possible. I had encountered Jesus, and with that experience I was shown the hidden agenda that manipulated our beliefs, controlling not only my life but the lives of those around me. This revelation became a beacon for me, a call to arms in the spiritual war that raged silently around us. Despite the potential consequences of speaking out, I felt an insatiable urge to break the silence that confined me. Every day I wrestled with the fear of ostracism and rejection, yet the longing to share the truth fueled my determination. I had lived too long imprisoned by the expectation of compliance, bound by a system that governed not just my actions but my soul. I knew I could no longer stand idly by while others remained unaware of the deception lurking beneath the surface of our traditions. Each moment felt like the ticking of a clock, urging me to act before the opportunity slipped away. In the depths of my heart, I understood that there were many like me, trapped under the weight of fear and indoctrination. The stories I had read and the testimonies I had listened to resonated deeply within me. They confirmed that this awakening was not just a personal journey, but part of a larger movement toward liberation. I could feel the pulse of a collective heartbeat, the desperate need for truth in a world rife with manipulation. In those clandestine meetings with fellow believers, we shared not just our stories, but our hopes for a future unshackled from the chains of deception. As I prepared to speak out, the urgency of my mission became even clearer. I began drafting a message, one that would shed light on the spiritual war we were all fighting. With every word I wrote, I felt the power of truth surging within me. It was time to unveil the layers of hidden agendas perpetuated by the elite, revealing how they sowed division among us. I was determined to use my voice to challenge the status quo, to call out the systems that had perpetuated fear and division for far too long. The stakes were high, but the cost of inaction felt far greater. Each day brought new challenges as I stepped further into this mission. The fear of potential backlash from my family and community loomed large, yet the calling I felt was impossible to ignore. It was as if Jesus himself was guiding me, urging me to stand firm against the tide of opposition. With each prayerful moment, I sought strength and clarity from him, striving to embody the very truth I longed to share. This awakening was a relentless push toward action, and as I prepared to break my silence, I felt a profound sense of purpose blossoming within me, a purpose that transcended my fears and propelled me forward into the unknown. In an act of courageous defiance, I decided it was time to leave my hometown behind. My name is Ahmed, and as a former Muslim judge, I had spent my life adhering to the stringent expectations of my community. Each day felt heavier than the last, weighed down by the chains of my past that constrained my spirit. The truth I had encountered through my awakening demanded liberation, not just for myself but also for others who remained trapped in their own spiritual bondage. This journey wasn't just a flight from my old life. It was a full embrace of the truth I had discovered through Jesus. I packed my belongings in a small suitcase, mindful of how each item represented a piece of my former identity. Leaving felt surreal, like stepping into a void filled with uncertainty, but the compulsion to share the revelations I had received propelled me forward. Memories flooded my mind, meetings filled with silent oppression, the fear of questioning authority that lurked in every shadow. I yearned to break free from the suffocating grip of the hidden agenda that had influenced my life for so long. With every mile I traveled, I felt the weight of my old life lifting, replaced by a sense of purpose that surged within me. As I journeyed toward a new destination, the idea of evangelism began to take shape. I had witnessed how the manipulation of belief led to fear and division, and I wanted to be a voice for the truth that could unite rather than separate. My encounters with Jesus revealed the deceptions perpetuated by the elite, unveiling the systems that sought to keep us subservient and confused. I felt a deep calling to share this message, to awaken those around me to the realities of the spiritual war that often went unnoticed. The urgency hung in the air, driving me forward as I envisioned gathering others who longed for freedom. Each stop along the way brought new challenges and opportunities. I met people from different walks of life, some who had escaped similar circumstances, others who were still bound by the chains of their beliefs. With every story shared, I realized the depth of the spiritual war was far-reaching. The desire for connection, for understanding the truth, transcended borders and cultures. I began to organize small meetings, fostering safe spaces where individuals could explore their doubts and seek answers. As we gathered around shared meals and open discussions, I could feel the energy shift. Hope began to blossom in their eyes, igniting a flame of awakening that had long been extinguished. Yet, amidst the joy of this newfound purpose, I also felt the weight of fear lurking nearby. I knew that my actions could have serious consequences. The thought of being branded an outsider, the potential backlash from friends and family, loomed large in my mind. But every time I faced that fear, I returned to the revelations I had received. In those precious moments with Jesus, I understood that to walk the path of truth often came with a price. The choice to deny my experience was no longer an option. I was compelled to share the light I had found, drawing strength from the hope it offered. As I stepped into this mission, I felt a mixture of exhilaration and trepidation. The challenges ahead would be daunting, but the journey had only just begun, and the call to awaken others was louder than the fears that threatened to hold me back. Years have passed since I left my hometown, and now I find myself in a new country, living a life I once thought impossible. My name is Ahmed, and the transformation I've undergone has been nothing short of miraculous. As I stand before my new community, a respected leader among Christians, I can't help but reflect on the journey that brought me here. Each moment, each trial, has shaped my understanding of the spiritual war that rages not just within us but around us. The revelations I received through Jesus have become the foundation of my mission, to inspire and liberate others from the hidden agendas that seek to control our hearts and minds. In my previous life as a judge in Pakistan, I felt the weight of obligation bearing down on me, fearing the repercussions of questioning the status quo. But now, surrounded by a community that embraces freedom and truth, I find strength in sharing my powerful testimony. The stories of faith I hear echo my own, reminding me that I am not alone in this transcendental journey. Engaging with those who have also broken free from their pasts fills me with hope, reinforcing the truth that we are all capable of awakening to the reality of our spiritual battles. Every time I share my story, I can feel the intensity of emotions washing over the audience. I recall vividly my encounter with Jesus during my near-death experience, how he revealed the deceptions that masked the hidden agenda of the elite. Jesus exposed the corruption that runs deep in our society, teaching me that many are still ensnared in fear and blind faith. The spiritual awakening I experienced empowered me to seek not only my own truth, but also to help others find their way out of the darkness. It pains me to see so many still grappling with the chains of manipulation, living in a world divided by fear and misunderstanding. In this new chapter of my life, each testimony I witness becomes a reminder of the urgency of our mission. I emphasize the importance of spreading awareness, challenging the static belief systems that perpetuate division. The stories shared by community members often mirror my own struggles and dreams, further driving home the reality that we're bound together in this spiritual war. Every moment of enlightenment connects us, igniting the passionate fire for liberation that resides within us all. My heart aches for those still trapped under the weight of the deception, longing for freedom just as I once did. As I continue on this path, I find an even deeper purpose emerging within me. I cannot remain silent while others suffer. The truth I carry is a precious gift. The message of Jesus and the revelations of love and unity I've received must spread far beyond the walls of our gatherings. I feel compelled to reach as many souls as possible, to awaken them to the power of their own identities and the reality of their spiritual battles. With every word spoken and every heart opened, I sense the tide of change beginning to rise, and I am determined to be a part of this awakening, a movement that dismantles the deception and cultivates a spirit of unity and love across the world. The central moral of my story emphasizes that while religion can bind individuals, the truth that Jesus offers frees the soul. My name is Ahmed, and once I served as a judge in the confines of Islamic law in Pakistan. My life had been a series of obligations and expectations that often felt more like shackles than a source of comfort or guidance. Yet, as I navigated through the dark corridors of my faith, I was unaware of the profound transformation that awaited me when I faced a harrowing event that changed everything. It was during an ordinary day, rushing to the courthouse, that fate intervened in a devastating way. I was in a serious car accident that left me teetering on the edge of life and death, slipping into a state of unconsciousness. In that transition from one realm to another, I found myself in an ethereal space, dark but filled with a presence that felt vividly alive. It was there that I encountered Jesus, a figure radiating warmth and compassion. His voice pierced through the layers of confusion that clouded my heart, calling me to awaken and see beyond the illusions that had bound me for so long. Jesus revealed truths that shattered my previous notions of faith and spirituality. He illuminated the hidden agendas that manipulated the doctrines I had followed, starkly exposing the deception woven into the very fabric of society. I saw how the elite had used fear as a weapon, fostering division and compliance among the masses. The political turmoil and social unrest I had once viewed through a lens of duty transformed into a vivid understanding of the spiritual war raging silently in the background. As I absorbed these revelations, a sense of urgency surged within me. This truth was not just for me. It was a calling to share with others. Returning to consciousness was not merely a return to life. It was a rebirth into a reality laden with purpose. I woke up in the hospital, grappling with the implications of what I had witnessed. The comfort I had found in religious rituals felt hollow now. I could no longer abide by teachings that perpetuated ignorance and separation. The weight of guilt loomed large, knowing that breaking away from my previous beliefs would invite ostracism and misunderstanding from those I loved. Yet, the revelation I received through Jesus urged me to embrace my awakening rather than retreat into silence. As I began to comprehend the depth of my calling, I sensed a mission unfurling within me. I needed to liberate not only myself but also those who remained ensnared by spiritual bondage. Each day, I felt a profound commitment to share the truth Jesus had revealed to me. I envisioned gatherings where I could connect with others, individuals yearning for authenticity in their faith and ready to decode the signs of a world entwined in deception. In those shared moments, I hoped to light the fire of awakening within them, showing that even in the darkest moments, a divine purpose is waiting to guide us toward the truth that ultimately frees us from fear and chains. Now that you've witnessed my journey, let me leave you with a thought that lingers in the silence. Have you ever felt that subtle tug on your heart, a whisper urging you to question what you thought was absolute? What if this world is entwined in a battle we can't always see, one that manipulates our beliefs and binds our souls? Because I can assure you, it is. In my darkest hour, confronted by the radiant light of Jesus, I found a truth that transcended the confines of organized religion. This was not merely my story. It's our collective struggle for liberation in a spiritual war that rages on, fueled by fear and deception, yet driven by the thirst for authentic connection. Each of us has a role to play, a truth to uncover, and a spark to ignite in the hearts of those still lost in the shadows. Now I turn to you. What are your thoughts? Do you have an experience, however small, that awakened your spirit? I invite you to share your reflections in the comments below. Your voice matters. We are here together, and I want to hear from you. If you felt a stirring within you from this message, please take a moment to subscribe to Truth from Beyond and hit that notification bell. Why? Because the journey we are on is just beginning, and the truths that are yet to come will reveal even greater connections, guiding us toward the light. In our next video, prepare to explore another astonishing testimony, someone who discovered hope amidst despair and found strength in community. I'm Ahmed, and thank you for joining me in this exploration of truth. Remember, we are all seekers, and the light will always find its way through the darkness. Until next time.